Hello and welcome back to Unknown Polygon Angles Part 2. So this is obviously a follow-on from the previous lesson, which means there aren't really any notes for this. We're just going to get straight into examples. They're going to be just like the examples from the previous lesson, but they're harder. In other words, that means there's going to be more than one angle that's unknown. But our process is still going to be the same. So let's look at this first question. We started off with just a standard quadrilateral, right? There's four angles in this thing. A lot of you will probably remember just straight away that the angle sum is going to be 360 degrees. If you don't remember that, that's fine. There's four sides. So what you would do to find that angle sum would be take away 2, 4 take away 2. So you can have two lots of 180. So the angle sum is 360 degrees. You need to know what all of the angles add up to. Once you know what they add up to, you can then write out your equation. I'm just going to start with that first K. So these four angles are all going to add up to 360. So let's write that out. This angle plus the next angle plus the third angle plus the fourth angle. These four angles will all add up and equal 360 degrees, the angle sum of a quadrilateral. So we've created our equation. Solving it, there's a little bit more involved to it, but again, you're going to solve it just like you learnt in that equation topic that we did last term. Before we go ahead and solve, let's simplify it. How many lots of K do we have? See that there are actually two lots of K here. Simplifying the next part, you've got a few numbers you're adding together here, the 50, the 110, and the 80. So that's going to get you in total 240 degrees. And it's still equal to 360. We haven't actually solved anything yet. All we did was just simplify that equation. Now let's go ahead and solve it. Let's get rid of this positive 240. We know how to do that. We do the opposite. So 360, take away the 240, brings you down to 120. We're trying to get K. We have 2K, or in other words, two lots of K. How do we get rid of it times by 2? We need to divide. So 120 divided by 2 gets you 60 degrees. And there it is, the value of K. This angle here happened to be 60 degrees. And if you were curious, it would be easy enough to find the value of the other missing angle. That was K, which ends up being 60 plus 50. So this was a 110 degree angle. But again, you don't need that for the question. It was just asking us to find the value of the K. So you would have your answer complete right here. All right, second example. So in this case, how many sides do we have? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, it's a pentagon. What is the angle sum of the pentagon? Again, a lot of you are probably finding that all of a sudden you're starting to remember already. If you do remember it's 540, you can probably bypass going 3 times 180. But for those people that are a bit unsure, just remember the method. You got 5 sides, take away 2 from it, always take away 2. And so that gives you a 3. You go 3 times 180, and that gives you the angle sum. All right, so we know what the 5 angles add up to. So let's write this out as an equation. Again, I'm just going to start here with the easiest angle. It's K. Now, we know that if we add up all of these 5 angles, here I'm going to do it here, K plus, I'm just going to work around clockwise, 130 plus 120 plus the K minus 10 and the 130. Okay, we know these 5 angles, when you add them together, and there it is, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. They were our 5 angles. These 5 angles will add up to 540 degrees. So we've created our equation. Let's simplify it down. How many K's do we have? In total, we have 2 lots of K. Simplifying the numbers, 130 plus 120, take away 10 plus the 130. So let's work that out. And again, just use your calculator. For myself, I'm sort of stuck using my head at the moment, but it should still be okay. We end up with, was that 380, 370. Okay, once you've simplified your equation, and then again, we're just going to solve it just like we always do. How do we get rid of a positive 370? We are going to take away 370. So 540, take away 370. That ends up giving you 140. No. What would that be? It is 540, take away 370. There it is, 170 degrees. And the final step is going to be to get K. We've got two lots of K, or in other words, 2 times K. How do you get rid of a times by 2? Do the opposite. We're going to divide by 2. So 170 divided by 2. And that gets you 85 degrees. We've found the value of K. This was an 80-degree angle. And this one up here ended up being 80 take away 10, a 70-degree angle. But again, just to reiterate, the question didn't actually ask us to find the value of all the missing angles. It just asked us to find the value of K. You would actually have full marks at this point here. And our final example. Okay, so this one is quite a challenging question. If we'll go through it, but if you do find this question a little bit too hard, don't stress too much. You can still, no matter how hard the question is, everyone should be able to at least get some marks. And our first mark is going to be really simple. What do all of these angles add up to? So let's count out how many sides we have. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay, so we've got 7 sides. So for our first mark, let's work out what the 7 angles would add up to. 5 lots of 180. Typing that in your calculator, you get 900 degrees. And there it is. If that's all you manage to be able to do, you've got yourself a mark. Now, if your plan obviously is complete mastery of these geometry questions, let's go ahead and create our equation. Now, I'll be honest, there is one extra complication here. That's this 80 degrees is actually what we'd call like an exterior angle. I'm referring to this one here. We're going to need to know the angle inside the polygon. What would this angle here be? And you may just need to use that year 7 skill that you learned all those years ago. Hey, if this is 80 degrees on the outside, what would be the angle on the inside? And you just need to remember a full revolution. The whole way around is 360. So just go your 360, take away the 80. Okay, so we now know what the size of that angle is on the inside, which we're going to need when we create our equation, which we'll do now. All right, so I'm just going to pick the simplest unknown angle that we have, which is this K up here at the top. This is where I'm going to start. So I know that we've got 7 angles in total. They're all going to add up to 900 degrees. Let's write that out as an equation. So K plus, that's our first angle, plus 2K plus 100 plus 150 plus 2K plus 50 plus 280. These 7 angles all add up and equal 900 degrees. So I've written out our equation. That looks extremely messy and a little bit confusing at the moment. So before we go ahead and solve, we know we simplify it. How many Ks do we have in total? Some people might say that there's 3 Ks, but those people would be wrong. If we have a look here carefully, we can see, let me change colors. We have 1 lot of K here. and we're going to add on another 2 lots of k. That brings us up to 3 lots of k in total, plus another 2. We end up with 5 lots of k. Simplifying the rest of these numbers here, 100 plus 150 plus 50, what does that bring us up to? 300 plus another 280. You end up with 580, and it's still equal to 900 degrees. Okay, so we've simplified our equation. Now let's go ahead and solve it. Again, with these geometry equations, you always sort of end up with the same sort of equation, right? So, getting really used to solving equations that look like this is pretty much all you're really going to need with these geometry type questions, because they all end up looking something similar to this. All right, how do we get rid of the 580? That's a positive 580, so for us to get rid of it, we're going to need to minus by 580. So 900 take away 580 will end up getting us 320. And the final step, to work out our value of k, here it is, we've got 320. We need to divide it by 5, and that ends up being, 5 goes into, you just, of course, use your calculator, right? 320 divided by 5, but again, I'm rocking it out like this for some reason. 20, so yeah, I'm pretty sure it's 64 degrees. Definitely let me know if I made a mistake there though. Right, type in your calculator, whatever answer you get for k is the answer. Potentially it's that. All right, so that concludes our examples. Work out your angle sum, write out your equation, simplify equation, and solve. Right, these are complicated. This is as hard as the topic gets, to be honest. So if you are struggling with questions of this difficulty, take heart. The rest of the topic actually gets a bit easier again. Actually, the topic really finishes a lot easier than what it is. We really are at the hardest part right now. I've got some questions for you guys to do. Before you move straight on to them, if you haven't yet, make sure you copy in these examples. There's 3 of them in total. So pause the video if you need to, copy in the diagram, copy in the solutions, make sure they're nice and neat and that you can read them. So that way, when you are prepping for exams, you can look back over and everything is easy for you to understand. So there's the first one. Pause the video if you need to, make sure you get in the second example. And there's the third. Apologies for the arrows, it's looking pretty confusing now, but hopefully you understand. Look back over the video if you need to. All right, there's 3 questions for you guys to do. The first 2 are on this page here. So have a go. I want you just to find the value of x. You're going to do it exactly the same way as the examples. Find your angle sum, write out your equation, and then solve it. So pause the video and complete these first 2 questions here. Right, once you've done that, moving on, we have one more example to do here. Once you've got all of your solutions, I'm going to show you the answers. So you should have got 120 degrees, 50 degrees, and 134 degrees. So hopefully you did get those answers. If you do have any questions or need any further clarification of anything, you can leave comments either here on YouTube or back on Canvas, or just send me an email directly. Best of luck with your geometry, guys, and I'll see you for the next lesson.